welcome. Thank you for coming tonight. We're very pleased to have Scott Jones with us tonight. And this is the first time I've met Scott, but we've been communicating for months because Scott runs the awesome website Georgetown Fun, and he's been awesome about posting our events and all events going on in Georgetown. So George, if you haven't seen it, Georgetown Fun is the go-to place for everything about Georgetown.
Georgetownfund.org?
Yes, georgetownfund.org.
.org, right.
Yeah. Also, we do an emailing twice a month.
Yes.
It goes out to almost 2,000 Georgetown residents, and it is only like Georgetown events. No ads, no politics, no religion, just the stuff that's going on.
That's wise.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's an impressive mailing list. You have over 3,000 people?
About 2,000.
2,000? Well,
And if you're not on it, if you'd like to be on it, just give me your email address and I'll add you to the list. And it basically is just a listing of all the stuff going on in town for like the next month or so, and we just keep updating.
And recently, Scott asked me, well, how do I get to become a local author in the office? So we looked in for today. So Scott has actually created a book of photographs about Georgetown, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So welcome, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you. So I've lived in Georgetown for about 16 years now. My wife, myself, and we have 5 children. My wife is actually outside smoking, but she should be back in a few minutes. And my daughter was here, and I don't know where she went because I was going to have one of them on the computer, but that's okay. So starting in about 2006, my younger son was in Cub Scouts, and I started to help the Cub Scouts with some events. And many, many years ago, I was a professional sound man and a DJ. And so it was kind of a hobby. I started buying some equipment, and I started DJing things for them and doing lighting and sound and things like that. And a funny thing happened. It turns out that if you DJ for free, people really like you, right? And you get lots of opportunities. So since 2006, I've done just over 200 events here in town that I've worked on. At one point, I did 40 in 1 year. Probably this year I'll do about 20 to 24. I've tried to cut back a little bit. But I've been interested in photography most of my life. I like to take pictures, so I took lots of pictures at these events. And then some friends of mine lived across the street from us. They moved out of town because he got a new job. And they really loved Georgetown, and they wanted memories to take with them. And they asked me to go around town and to take photographs for them of their favorite places. So I did this, and then I was like, I make a little book of this for them. So I made a little book, printed it at home on my printer. And some people who saw it were like, geez, you should really make a book of that. Realtors and people around town would really like this. And so I sort of had that idea in my mind for a long time, but not really kind of formed. And then a couple of years ago, the PTA asked me to go out and take pictures for them for their Georgetown Opera game of different things around Georgetown. So I'm taking these pictures and I'm driving around, and all of a sudden I had, it was like the light bulb went on over my head, and I said, this is what I want to do. And I had like every page in the book like laid out in my head. And then of course it turned out that many of the photographs I needed for those pages I didn't have, so I had to go take a lot of pictures. But this book is the result of that. And I tried to do a couple different things here. And what I was going to do tonight is actually kind of walk you through the book a little bit. It's not that long, and it's, I think, something you kind of have to see to really understand. First of all, what I'm hoping is that the book itself is sort of visually appealing, and maybe you put it on your coffee table, or that you'd like to just flip through it and look at the photographs. The second thing is I tried to put a lot of information in here about our town, because I think there's a lot of little hidden gems around Georgetown that a lot of people don't know about. And then the other thing is I've also put some sort of little trivia fun facts things throughout this as well. Renee, can you sit at the computer? On the top right keys is page up and page down. Could you hit page down? Oh, actually, page up again. Let's go back to the beginning. Anybody have any idea where this is?
I was trying to figure it out. No. It's so narrow, it can't be one of our main.
Yeah, so this is actually West Street. You go past the soccer fields, past the water treatment plant, and you start to head out towards Groveland. And one of the things about photography that a lot of people don't recognize is that the middle of the day when it's really sunny is like the worst possible time to take a photograph. And so we had this big snowstorm, and I went out like in the morning, the sun was just coming up and the lights were really diffuse and everything, and took this photograph. Okay, so, and this is actually a picture from the 9/11 remembrance that we had on September 11th, 2011, the fire department, and the many people who were kind enough to help with different things that went into this book, information and facts and different things like that that I wanted to thank. And so the way this is organized is it kind of goes through the town by subject, if you will. So, you know, athletic fields and charities and all these different things. And if you can go forward here. Excuse me. So, you know, for example, this is not a particularly fascinating page, but these are all of the different athletic fields in town. So if you're somebody new to town and your child is playing athletics and they tell you to go to a particular field, you know, here's a picture of each of the field and where each of the fields is located and what sports and whatnot they offer in those fields. This is a little bit about the Mike Donahoe Road Race. You know, Mike Donahoe was the director of facilities for the schools for many years, and he passed away from melanoma. And so they've put together, the Donahoes and the Flabs in particular, and their whole neighborhood put together this really wonderful race in his memory. They've raised over $100,000 since the race was started, and it's really amazing. I mean, every year they get about 1,600 people to show up at Pearlie for this race. I don't think there's any other event in town that gets nearly that kind of participation. And it's really kind of an amazing event and a really special day. And then these are all of the churches in Georgetown. And then throughout this book, there's these little sort of gray boxes like this, which are, you know, sort of fun facts. You know, so for example, the Byfield Parish is the oldest operating congregational church or congregational parish in the United States. It's not the oldest building. In fact, the oldest operating church building in town is actually the First Congregational Church. The Byfield Parish, their original church building, is actually about 2 doors down and is a private residence now. So that, you know, the other thing that's really interesting about our town is there's a lot of buildings that date back. You know, we've got a couple buildings from the 1600s. We have, I think, I have it in here on one of the pages. I think we have over 100 buildings from the 1700s. And there's all of these historical buildings and sites that still exist around town. In some cases are now residences and various things. So, you know, again, all of the different churches in town, what religion they practice, what, you know, when their services are, and things like that, you know, just some basic information on each one. What I try to do, this is actually in the book, if you open it up, it's a 2-page that face each other to talk about events. And what I've tried to do here is just kind of sample some of the things. So, you know, there's one sort of major event in each month here for January through July, and then on the facing page for the rest of the year. You know, somebody was telling me one time, they called the town hall and they were like, is there any kind of guide to Georgetown? Is it, you know, what is there to do in this town? And the person that was talking to me at the town hall was like, oh, there's nothing to do in Georgetown. And, you know, if you go on Georgetown Fun, and you go on our calendar page, there are dozens of fun events every single month of the year. There are events already scheduled out into October, November. You know, for a small town, there really is a lot to do, I think, and a lot of fun things. And there's a lot of things you can do that don't cost any money. For example, this coming Saturday, or not this coming, a week from Saturday, they're having the Party in the Park at American Legion Park to open up the season down here. Free food, free music, just get out and hang out in the park and have fun. You know, so there's a lot of things like that go on in this town. There's a number of charitable organizations, the GEF and the PTA, that have some really neat events in the course of the year. And so I've tried to highlight some of those here, but as I also, you know, to sort of plug my website a little bit, is the georgetownfund.org. Is, you know, if you want to know what the latest stuff is, you go up there. you know, we have the free concert series in the summer where they have, I think, 6 or 8 weekends that they have bands come in on Sunday night and play. And it's free. You just go down to the park and some really great music. Last year, I actually did sound for them one weekend for a jazz band, and they were fantastic. In fact, I recorded the whole thing and I still listen to it. Okay, next page, please, Mark. And this is, you know, a page with some of the things that you can do to get involved. And so there's a bit of a split here. So there's get involved. There's also a page on organizations. The idea here where these are fairly broad-based, you know, charitable organizations where you can get involved and help do something for the community, whereas some of the organizations tend to be more special interest kind of things. You know, so we have the Georgetown Education Foundation that raises money for the schools, the Kiwanis, who does all kinds of great charitable works around the town, and then the PTA, which I think everyone, you know, is familiar with, that also does a lot for the schools. So, you know, and these are all organizations that are always looking for people to help out and, you know, doing a lot of great stuff for the community. The other thing is that we have food pantries in town. There are a surprising number of people in town who are really having a hard time getting by. And we have the Abundant Food Pantry, which is in the New Life Community Church. And we have People Helping People, which is something that's done out of St. Mary's. I think there may actually also be a food pantry in the First Congregation Church. I didn't have that information when I did this. And I mean, the work that they do is just amazing. I mean, and you know, I went over to the Abundant Food Pantry to take some pictures, and I mean, they've put together this whole system, and they keep this stock, and people come in on Tuesday mornings and get food, and People Helping People goes out at like Thanksgiving and Christmas and brings presents and food, you know, to people who wouldn't have a Thanksgiving dinner if it wasn't for them. And you know, you think in a town like ours, you know, you wouldn't expect this, but there are a lot of people that really depend on this for help. I put a couple pages in here about history. It's not really a history book per se, but there's, you know, some really interesting things. There's a little bit in here about the founding of Georgetown. As I mentioned earlier, there's a couple of buildings in town from the 1600s, and this is one of them, the Brocklebank Museum, which is the, to the best of anyone's knowledge, the oldest building in town. There's, yeah, it built around, I think it says 1680. We currently have, so we have 2 buildings from the 1600s, 60 from the 1700s, and 326 from the 1800s. So there's quite a few historical buildings in town. This one kind of cracked me up. You know, if you go to Town Hall, we have the big sign in front, Home of Old Nancy, right? This is a big deal, right? Old Nancy. We stole it from Raleigh.
Not according to them.
Not according to who?
They don't think we have it.
They don't know.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. My son played, you know, my son plays, just started playing Baby Ruth baseball, and our home field, because our fields all have arsenic all over them, is in Raleigh. And so we go and play in Raleigh, and they have a thing about Old Nancy up on the sign in Raleigh as well. But I can tell you, I took that picture. This is actually, it's in the basement of the town hall. You can go see it. So we do have it. Never fired a shot in anger, as far as I know. And then there's a little bit about the schools too. So the first 2 schoolhouses in town do not appear to exist anymore. There's a possibility that part of one is a chicken coop on somebody's property, but I wasn't able to confirm or deny that. The 3rd schoolhouse is actually next to the Brocklebank Museum. It was relocated. It used to be on top of the Andover Hill. The 4th schoolhouse is the Nowak Organ Company, which is over here on Main Street. And the 5th schoolhouse, they actually added a 2nd floor to it, so this is on North Street, and turned it into it's like a 2-unit apartment. So again, I mean, some of our very earliest buildings still exist. After this, then they built the Pearly School, and then they built the Central School, which is now the Town Hall, and then Pembroke and the high school. So most of our schools still exist. Some of the different monuments, you know, we have around town, you know, for, you know, various war memorials, you know, a couple of very nice, beautiful settings for cemeteries, Union Cemetery and Harmony Cemetery. This is a picture of the Civil War monument before they redid it. Personally, I kind of like the way it used to look, but apparently there's some regulation that you can't have anything around a monument like that. There's not supposed to be any plantings or anything in the way. You're supposed to be able to appreciate the monument, so it had to be redone. This is a listing of the different organizations around town that I've been able to sort of determine. You know, some of these are kind of hard to figure out how to get a hold of. And so, you know, as of when I published this, to the best of my knowledge, these are up-to-date and accurate contact information for them. And I also keep this up on the website as well. So, you know, and these are just some of the different events. You know, this was a All Sports Boosters pancake breakfast at the football game. And they had a carnival one year, and they had this amazing carnival in 2008, and nobody came. And there was sort of two things. It was a holiday weekend. I think everybody was out of town. And the second thing is I think a lot of people just didn't know about it. And that was actually what got me to create Georgetown Fun. You know, there's a lot of groups that have their own websites, but you don't go to the PTA website if you're looking for something fun to do in a weekend. And so what I try to do with Georgetown Fun is aggregate all the stuff going on in town from any organization. And any organization or business that's having a special event, or has something going on, we put it up on the site, it's free, it goes out to the mailing list, and we get quite a bit of traffic on the site. So it, you know, hopefully really drives a lot of traffic for everybody. And this was really, they had a you know, one of those things where you throw the baseball and it dunks the people, and this kid went underwater and it had a clear window on it. So, but you can see that, you know, the Country Gardens plant sale, they just held that. The Knights of Columbus, they don't actually do this anymore. They used to have this thing called the Cadet Club. It was kind of a fun event, and then here's like the football partners banner there. And then, you know, we have some pretty cool parades. I mean, we had a Memorial Day parade this last Monday, which was very, very nice. It's kind of a sad occasion because Terry Hart, who has been a tremendous resource to all the veterans, recently passed away, and his family was there, and they honored them. And, but it was really, really nice. And then in October, we have our Horribles Parade, where all the kids get dressed up and march down to American Legion Park, which is always a lot of fun. And then our fire department, who we have a fire department with a lot of character. And a lot of characters in it. And the Santa Parade, this one year, you know, they had it all lit up and in the dark, and it really is a really neat thing. They go around and collect toys for tots, and it's a really great event. And then, you know, we have a baseball parade, and it's a lot of kind of cool parades and things. And then the various parks around town. We have Harry Marsh Park, and somebody was talking about this during the Memorial Day Parade. You know, it used to be sort of a big brown patch of dirt, and it really is a beautiful park now. They've done a great job with it, and it was a really nice location for the end of the Memorial Day Parade. And then, you know, American Legion Park, again, it's such an amazing resource. The bandstand is just a great place to have a concert, and the playground, which they're going to rebuild this year, thanks to, I think it was some CPC money and money that the Parks and Rec had been raising, you know, and there's a beach and you know, all sorts of different things you could do there. There's a tennis court there, and it's really a nice resource for the town. Now again, in the book, this is another one of these things you fold out and you see both sides, but you know, plays and concerts. So, you know, up at the high school, there's a lot of concerts put on by the high school band, the middle school band, the chorus. They have this really cool event that they do once a year, Dancing with the Teachers, sort of modeled on Dancing with the Stars, and they get professional dancers to come in and pair up with the teachers, and they compete for this trophy. And it really is a great event. It's really a lot of fun, and it's really funny. And I mean, it just the crowd reaction to it this year, and I think for the kids too, they see their teachers in a completely different light. You know, my teacher doesn't just stand up in front of the class and lecture me. They're a person, and they're up there doing fun stuff, and the place was packed with kids, and the kids were going crazy. It really is great. And then, the first time I went to a play here in town at the high school, I was really stunned at the kind of quality and scope of the production. I mean, you look at this from Anything Goes. This is the set. It was built by a bunch of volunteers. I mean, you know, it's got a stairway and there's people up on it. I mean, you see all these, I mean, it was a really impressive set. You look at all the costumes, the number of people in the play. I mean, a very significant portion of the school is in the play or is in the crew for the play. And they also get, you can see down in front here, they get these pit orchestras. And, you know, members of the school, members of the community all playing in this orchestra. And I mean, they're just amazing productions. And this is from Anything Goes, which was 2012. Flip, I think the next page. This is from Guys and Dolls, which they did in 2013. The other thing that's really neat is every 4 years, the school band and chorus goes to Walt Disney World. And that is our chorus in April of 2011 performing in Disney World. My son was in the chorus, so I went down to see this and got that shot. And seeing the band marching up Main Street at Disney is really a special thing to see. You know, we have a jazz band, and again, there's another picture from the free concert series. Now, the next 4 pages go through some of the recreation opportunities in town. And again, there's a lot of opportunities that I think people may not be aware of. You know, we have a municipal boat ramp. This is down next to I guess it's, what is it, the Par 97 now. It used to be the Rock Pond Restaurant. One of my friends once joked that they should call it under new management, but oh geez, this is going over cable. I probably shouldn't say that. Crane Pine Wildlife Management Area. You know, you go out North Street to Thurlow Street, and you go out, and there's this beautiful area where you can just go and you can hike around. And you know, I went out there one day and took some of these pictures. And I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful place to go. Just be aware that they do allow hunting on the property, so depending on the time of year, you might want to wear fluorescent clothing. But it really, and it goes all over the place, and you can go out there and you can hike around. I think I actually found a map, and I think it's up on Georgetown Fun, that you can download, and I put it up a while ago, but I think it's still up there. There's a map of that, and there's an extensive trail network, so it's just a great place to go walk. The other thing is we have Camp Dennison in town, and you know, this is again an amazing resource. A huge, beautiful piece of property overlooking Baldpate Pond. They have this nice gazebo. You can rent the lodge for events, and it's very reasonable. You can pay a small amount of money, and I believe they still allow this. They used to, for like $5 or something, you could camp overnight on the property if you wanted to. And there's a big fire pit where you can have a fire, and you know, there's swings and various different things, and it's just a really beautiful piece of property that, you know, our town is fortunate that we were able to purchase. You know, it used to be a summer camp many, many years ago. And then Camp Leslie, which is a camp for you know, kids' summer camp here in town. I've had 4 of my kids go to that camp, and Sherry's daughter was CIT there last year. It's an amazing place. It is the staff, the experience, the facility. It really is just an incredible experience for kids. And in fact, it's become so successful that it sells out every year. I'm sure it's been sold out probably for months already. And then the Georgetown Raleigh Forest. Again, another beautiful place to go hike around. And again, I walked around out there and took some of these pictures of the different trails and things like that. But it's another free resource that you can go out and you can bike and you can cross country ski or hike. I think they may allow snowmobiles in there in the winter, if I'm not mistaken. So and it's again just another great place that we have here in town. And then Lufkin's Brook, which is down next to the VFW. And again, there's a very extensive trail network in behind there. And again, I have a map of that trail system up on Georgetown Fund that you can download. And, you know, you just can go in there and hike around. So, you know, a lot of really nice recreational opportunities. The various schools in town, so of course, you know, Pearly School, which is, it's our oldest operating school. You know, it was built in the 1800s with a grant from, actually, I'm blanking on this. Yeah, from John Pearly. It actually burned, the majority of the school actually burned down at one point, had to be rebuilt, so all the interior burned down, and then we expanded it. There's a whole section of the back which is new. You know, this part is the original school here. And then we have Pembroke, which we're in the process of replacing. It's kind of a shame that our newest school is the one that needs to be replaced the soonest. I think we didn't do a very good job on that one. And then the high school, which is actually a fairly old school as well, and we added on to once before, and recently I guess approved money to you know, add on to that again. And this is kind of neat. One of the things that Dr. Tanner implemented at Pembroke is every year they have a Red Sox opening day for the kids. And on this particular one, we brought in a rock climbing wall for the kids, and I went out and DJ'd it for them. We did that again this year, which was kind of interesting because we did it in mid to late April, and the guys setting up the wall were brushing the snow off of it. And I said to them, I said, have you ever set this climbing wall up in the snow before? And they said, no. And there was actually snow on the wall in the early part of the day. And of course, I'm out there, and I'm DJing, and I got like 4 layers of clothes on, and I'm freezing, and the kids are out there in their t-shirts and their shorts, climbing the climbing wall, and they're all fun. This is a little bit about scouting in town. So we have, you know, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts very active in town. We have several Boy Scout troops, actually 4 Boy Scout troops. We have Cub Scouts. We have Girl Scouts with brownies and all the different things. And again, you know, this is you know, as up to date as I could make it at the time with the actual information for who to contact for all these different things, because you know, some of this is actually kind of hard to find out. You know, you're like, okay, you know, I want to get my kid in Cub Scouts. Who do I call? You know, there isn't like, you can't look Cub Scouts up in the phone book. So, you know, as of when I did this, that was all the latest information. You know, any parents that are watching, you know, if you're thinking about getting your kids into Cub Scouts or Brownies or Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, I mean, there's some amazing things you get to do that you just don't get to do if you don't join those organizations. This is a picture from 2007 of an overnight we did on the Battleship Massachusetts. We slept on the Battleship Massachusetts. You don't get to just do that, you know, and it's a really great experience for the kids. It's not so fun for the adults.
You got it.
Great.
It smells like diesel fuel, it makes a lot of noise, and the beds are about 5.5 feet long. And they're about this far apart. But the kids have a blast. It's a great experience. We did a lot of great stuff. Both of my sons went through the Cub Scout program here in town, and my daughters have been in Girl Scouts as well. And then senior services. We have Council on Aging in town. It's you know, active in a lot of different things, and here's some information on how to contact them, and some pictures from some different you know, Georgetown Days events and things like that over the last couple of years that we've had. And then sports. You know, now this is another thing to me. If you're a parent and you have a child and you're interested in getting them in athletics, what athletics are available in town, and how do you find that out? Not to be overly critical, but if you go to the GA website, it lists the sports they have, but it doesn't list the ages, it doesn't list the genders. This chart right here, which lists all the sports offered by the GAA, the sport, what season, the grades they cover, and the genders, to get that chart together, that one little box there, I had to get like 4 guys and drag them over to a table at the baseball bash and not let them leave until they answered my questions. Okay? You know, so yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of a neat resource for parents. Like, okay, there's all the sports. Are they boys or girls or co-ed? You know, when are they? What grades do they cover? And then the same thing, this was easier to get. the athletic director at the high school was very, very helpful. And this is a list of all of the high school, middle school sports. Again, sports, what are the seasons, what grades are covered, and what genders. And, you know, they have boys sports, they have girls sports, and they have co-ed sports.
Is it an adult sport?
Oh yes, yes. I almost forgot that. There is a adult mushball softball league. And so we have that in there. And I think there may actually be some basketball, volleyball stuff that goes on in town as well. And then just some pictures that I talked about I thought were kind of pretty around town. You know, these three here are actually all pictures I took basically looking out of the front of my house the first couple of years we lived here. And I was like, how great is that? I don't know what makes the sunset so great. You know, it's probably air pollution or something you don't want to know about, but I mean, just some amazing sunsets. And then these are the various facilities. Here we are, the Georgetown Peabody Library. A little bit of information here about when the library began and how it was started. And you know, a little bit of information on when the building was built and then the expansion that was done. The Georgetown Post Office, this was really funny. So I said, you know, I'm thinking, I want a little information to put in the book about the post office. So I'm like, I wanted to know, like, how many pieces of mail do they deliver a day? I thought that'd be neat. How many pieces of mail? How many households? It's a secret. They don't want FedEx. They don't want those guys at FedEx or UPS to know what their market share is. But I got a very nice public relations person at the post office, and they did actually tell me quite a bit of stuff about how they service a town and the number of trucks and letter carriers and things like that. You know, and you know, here's the highway garage and a little bit about, you know, what the highway department does and, you know, how many miles of roads we have in town and what they support. And, you know, our public safety building, and then the town hall, which is, I mentioned previously, started out as the central school. And actually, when that was built, the central school, when the 5 one-room schoolhouses all closed and everything moved into the central school. And that was the end of, you know, all the schoolhouses. Here's a little bit about our town government. So here's the different elected positions in town. So, you know, the different groupings, Board of Selectmen and Board of Assessors and Board of the Light Commissioners and the clerk, and what they are and how many people are on each one of these boards, and you know, how long their term is for. And actually, and we still have, Steve Smith isn't in this picture, but that's 4 of our 5 current serving selectmen from the 2012 Memorial Day Parade. One of the difficult things about this book is I wrote it and it came out, and then, you know, the restaurants in this town change about every 3 weeks. And so there's like, I think 3 or 4 restaurants that don't exist anymore, and different things like that have changed. And then a little bit about our town, you know, more about the town government, and then this page is focusing on the police department and the fire department. You know, so there's a little bit of information here about the police department and how many people are in it and what they do, and the fire department, and a little bit down here about Erie Ford, which is the oldest privately owned and operated you know, fire department in the country as well. So another really historic thing about Georgetown. You know, and Erie 4 is you know, almost entirely funded from events that they run and donations and things, and not, you know, out of our tax dollars. So that's, you know, it's kind of a neat thing, and you know, it's also another neat resource for town, because the upstairs here in the Erie 4 building is you know, a hall that people can rent, and where they have various dinners and things like that over the course of the year.
Scott, another thing about Erie 4 is they'll be 160 years old next year.
Amazing.
It's a lot of ham and roast beef.
Right.
And then this is a little bit about the different utilities in town. You know, we have Comcast Cable, we have the Georgetown Electric Light Department, which is, provides 50,000 megawatts of electricity per year to some 2,400 households. You know, we have G Mello that does our recycling and trash, and to, you know, 1,580 homes, and a little bit here about how much trash we create. And then the Georgetown Water Department, this was really funny because I called up the water department to get some information, and it turns out that the new manager for the Georgetown Water Department was a guy named Lou Manolette, who I actually had worked on a bunch of events with. And I'm talking to him and asking him questions. He's like, Scott, this is Lou Manolette. And I was like, oh. Okay. So he's our new water manager. And so a little bit of information about how much water we use. I think there's 550,000. Maybe you can read that on the screen. I can't read it up here too well. So I think 550,000 gallons per day.
Yeah, 650,000.
650,000 gallons per day. 65 miles of water pipes. And then veteran services, and again, until recently, Terry Hart, who recently passed away, was our veteran service representative. I don't know who the new representative will be, but and this is a picture from the 2013 Memorial Day Parade with Doug Dawson out in front. Doug Dawson, he was the commander at the time. Where to meet?
You must have had a hard time keeping this going.
Well, let's see now. Coach's Rock Con, which is now Par 97. Dunkin' Donuts is still there. Fat Belly Barbecue, I don't think is doing it anymore. I'm not sure. Henborg's has moved to Groveland. Jimmy K's is now Pomodoro. Is Johnny's didn't look so open the other day. Is Johnny's maybe not there anymore? Keon's is now Holloway's.
Yeah.
Nikki's is still there. Pizza Factory is still there. Roy O'Connor's is closed. I had currently closed, and I had currently closed on those. Sal's Pizza currently closed. Theo's is still there. Utterly Divine, the VFW, and Village Southern Pizza. So that's a tough one to keep. I have to get like stickers that I can put in the book to update it. And then this is just a little bit of kind of summary stuff about the town. So, the latest budget numbers, how they broke out, where all the money goes, some information on the population and the statistics and the profile, some information on crime, the homes, and the schools. And actually, when I was doing this, I had was talking to the school department about something, and they were actually able to provide me with all of the latest numbers here put in that weren't published yet. So, it's still, they're out now, but the latest and greatest numbers.
This must have taken you forever. So much research in this.
Yeah, it took a while. And then this is the back cover, and these are a couple pictures I took. My wife actually berated me for taking these pictures because I went out in a snow emergency, and they basically were saying stay off the streets, and I'm not driving around taking pictures. But when I put them on Facebook, Phil Trapani was like, "Oh, nice pictures." So I'm like, "Well, he's a selectman. It must be okay then."
He was probably out too.
Yeah. I actually have a really nice, it's not in this book, I have a really nice picture of this library I took that same day with the snowflakes falling down around it. And everything's sort of white, but the red building really strikes it, stands out. That's, to me, as a photographer, I really like that this is sort of all white, but then you got a little red and green right here that just sort of pops out in the picture. And that's the book.
Do you make any attempt to, not the restaurants, but for other resources in town, do you make any attempt on your website to keep it current if they were looking for Cub Scouts or?
Yes, there is an organizations directory on the website that I have been keeping up to date. There's a couple different things like that. So some of this information is there and is updated.
How,
The Friends are on it?
Yes.
If there are organizations that are not
Yes, I
on
did see that.
your list so far, how would they get on?
Just email me. The email address is on the website, and they can just email me. The other thing is, if you're looking at the directory and you see something that isn't up to date, let me know, and I'll update it. I got an email the other day from Sean Sexton. He used to be the committee chair for PAC 50 here in town, and he's like, "Would you please update that so people will quit sending their Cub Scout registrations and calling me when I'm not involved in it anymore?" So, you know, and it is, it's a challenge to keep up with it. In fact, one of the, my actual real business is very, very busy right now, and one of it's actually kind of a struggle. I'm struggling at the moment to keep the website up to date because I get stuff pretty much every day to put on the site. I'm updating it still 2 or 3 times a week, but I could update it every day if I had the time.
Has anybody ever done an April Fool's joke on you and given you a false event?
Not on purpose.
Oh, you've made mistakes.
Well, people have sent me stuff, you know, for the wrong day, or you know, and then you know, try to fix it as quickly as possible, or you know, or I get the ones, and sometimes I catch it and sometimes I don't, but I get the ones sometimes. It's like this event's going to be Wednesday, January 4th. Well, January 4th isn't a Wednesday. So is it Wednesday, January 3rd, or is it Thursday, January 4th? You know, that sort of thing has definitely happened. The other thing, there's a photo gallery on this website where I put all the pictures I take at events, and there are literally thousands, maybe tens of thousands of photographs up there now. The last couple of years, I've taken pictures of every single couple in the Prom Grand March and put them up. I went to, when we had the Red Sox World Series trophy in town, I went and took pictures of everybody who wanted to have a picture taken with that. And there's just a whole bunch of stuff like that up there. You know, and anybody that wants to can go up there and you can get the photographs and download them. And if you like a photograph and you want to blow it up and put it on your wall, you could email me and I'll send you the full resolution one. The ones on the site are cut down because otherwise it would take all day. But, you know, please don't email me and say, I want these 30 photos. Just, you know, if you're going to put one on the wall, fine. Otherwise, you can just get the ones off the website. There's a couple other things. I have actually written a cookbook. And that's on Georgetown Fun as well. It started as a neighborhood thing from our neighborhood dinners, and it just sort of grew from there. So there's actually a cookbook up there you can download as well. Yes.
What application did you use to put the book together?
Well, the wrong one. I happen to have and use a lot a program called Corel Draw. I have written a lot of technical books and sold them through my business, and I've illustrated them, and I use that for that. And I built these pages one by one in Corel Draw, and then put them all together in an Adobe PDF file. That is not the right way to do this. If it was much longer, I would do something different. The right way to do this is to use something like InDesign, which is a program for doing that sort of thing. But I did not have InDesign, and I didn't want to. InDesign, I think, is $1,000. I actually have another book with me here, which is a little guide I put together on digital photography. I actually put this together for myself as much as anything. And this I actually put together in something called FrameMaker. If you're going to write a technical book that's going to be 1,000 pages long with like 50,000 illustrations and 10,000 equations, FrameMaker is the world champ. I mean, it does everything for you, tracks everything. It's a wonderful program. But it's not flexible enough for this kind of thing. So, you know, I had that. I didn't have the right one for this. So.
We're hoping your book is available here tonight.
It is, yeah. Yeah, so the Georgetown book is available here tonight. Normally I sell these for $15. I'm selling it tonight for $10.
Plus tax.
Plus tax. Yes, the governor wants his 63 cents. It also is for sale at the Scala Arts Center. So anybody who's watching on TV and isn't here tonight, obviously, can go down to the Scala Arts Center and buy it. You know, it's funny. I kind of wrote this because I wanted to do it, and I wanted to put this together. I was sort of hoping I would make a little money on it. I spent a fair amount of money. I spent a lot of money, really, on Georgetown Fun. The equipment that I use to DJ and do sound, I don't do that professionally anymore. And it's all stuff I bought. You know, I had all the equipment and I sold it all, and I had to buy it all over again. Now the equipment now is better than it was those many years ago, but you know, and I generally don't get paid anything for the events that I do. Sometimes somebody will give me $100 or something. And every time I do an event, something breaks, something wears out, you know, some kid runs into my speakers and knocks them over and they snap in half inside and I have to fix them. You know, I've had all kinds of strange experiences. People steal stuff. You know, so I was hoping I would make a little money on this. That has not been the case to date. I spent more money publishing it than it has made in sales so far, but you know, partly I'm to blame for that too, because I haven't done much to promote it. So maybe tonight, all you people watching on cable, come buy these books. You know, pay a couple $100 to pay for the thousands of dollars I've spent.
It might be a good book to buy and send to your grown children so they, if they live out in Podunk, Iowa, to show off the town they grew up in.
Yeah.
Or to give a new neighbor.
Well, you know, it's that's actually, I'm glad you mentioned it, that's actually a funny story. So we have new neighbors moving across the street. We're like, well, we'll give them one of these books. They live on the other side of town. They don't live in Georgetown longer than we have. I was like, okay. So, yeah, you know, the other one that I had thought about was, you know, this is maybe more expensive than a realtor is gonna pay to like hand out to prospective people moving into town, but if they sold a house to somebody and they're getting a big commission check, give it to them as a gift.
Good gift.
You know, or maybe buy a few of them just to you know, show people information about the town. Because, you know, if you're thinking about moving to town, it does have a lot of information that you might be interested in. So, if you're a realtor and you're watching this, there you go. Give me a call.
How about somebody with a waiting room in town, a dentist or a
Oh,
doctor?
yeah, yeah. But what I've learned through all this is things don't sell themselves. You have to actually work at it, and I just have been too busy to do that. I mean, I wrote this thing, actually. I really wrote it more for myself, because it's got a lot of stuff that I look up when I'm out shooting things. But, you know, I printed a bunch of them. It'd be nice to sell some of these, too. And I mean, this is like the first time it's left my house. So that's probably not going anywhere either.